Shirley Coupland was 70 years old and lived alone in Phoenix. In the summer of 2023, her home cooling system broke down during a heat wave. By the time emergency responders reached her, her body temperature had climbed to 107 degrees. She suffered several cardiac episodes at the hospital and died shortly after. She's not an outlier, she's a pattern. In 2021, heat-related deaths in the United States jumped to 1,600, a 59% increase from just 4 years earlier, and a 439% increase compared to 2004. And here's what the headlines usually miss. County data from 2022 shows that the biggest culprit in indoor heat deaths wasn't the absence of air conditioning, it was AC units that were broken. People had the equipment, it just failed them at the exact moment they needed it. Heat-related deaths in older adults increased 88% between 2018 and 2022, compared to the 2000-2004 baseline. And if you think the grid is going to hold during the next serious heat event, the U.S. experienced about 60% more heat season power outages in the last decade than in the decade before. A decade ago, the average American home experienced a sustained outage 1.2 times a year, lasting 3 hours. By 2021, outages had risen to 1.4 times a year, with power out for more than 5 hours on average. And 2024 was worse than any year in the previous decade. So this video is about one specific situation. You're 50 or older, the power goes out during a heat wave, and you need to stay safe at home for the next 48 to 72 hours before things normalize. Not a camping scenario, not a doomsday bunker, your house, your neighborhood, a real grid failure on a July afternoon. Here's what that actually looks like, and what keeps you alive through it. Before we get into gear, you need to understand what's actually happening inside your home when the AC dies. Your walls, your floors, your ceiling, they've been absorbing solar radiation all day long. The concrete slab, the brick, the attic, all of it stores heat like a battery charging up. When your AC is running, it's constantly fighting that stored heat and winning. When your AC stops, it stops winning, and all that stored thermal energy starts radiating back inward. A typical American home in summer, with the power out and the outside air at 95 degrees Fahrenheit, can see indoor temperatures rise 3 to 5 degrees per hour in afternoon sunlight. Faster if you have west-facing windows, a dark roof, or poor attic insulation. By hour 6, you're not in a warm house anymore. You're in an oven that's slowly coming up to temperature. This is the physics you're working against. Everything in this list is about slowing that process down and managing your body's response to it while you wait it out. The single most effective thing you can do costs under $30 and takes about 20 minutes. A roll of Reflectix, that's the bubble wrap with shiny aluminum on both sides, at Home Depot or Lowe's. You cut panels to fit your windows with regular scissors and slide them into the frames. The shiny side faces outward toward the glass, and you want a gap between the panel and the window. Not a big gap, about the width of your thumb. That airspace is what prevents heat from building up against the glass and cracking it, which genuinely happens with double-pane windows when you trap radiant heat with nowhere to go. Cut each panel slightly oversized so it wedges into the frame and stays put on its own. A west-facing room without this on a late afternoon in July can be 10 to 15 degrees hotter than a room with it. That gap is the difference between uncomfortable and dangerous when you're many hours into an outage. Do your west and south-facing windows first. That's where the afternoon sun hits hardest. Here's something important that most people get wrong about fans and heat. A fan doesn't cool a room, it cools you. Moving air accelerates evaporation from your skin, and that's the mechanism. If you're not in the airflow, the fan is doing nothing. A battery-powered fan, specifically the O2 Cool 10-inch, which runs about $30, runs on 6 D-cell batteries. Add about $15 for a good set of D batteries, and you're looking at roughly $45 total. On the low setting, that fan runs for close to 48 hours on one set, 2 full days. Why not just plug a regular fan into a power station? Because a regular fan draws enough wattage to significantly drain your battery reserves overnight. And your battery reserve needs to be protecting things that can't run on D-cells. Your phone, your CPAP if you use one, anything electrically dependent that keeps your life running normally. Let the battery fan handle air movement so your power station handles the things only a power station can handle. Pick one room. The smallest one you can reasonably live in for a day or two, and cool that space. Close the door. Pull the shades. Concentrate your resources. You are not trying to cool a house. You are trying to cool a person. A full 5-gallon water jug weighs 42 pounds. Think about what it actually takes to lift that and tip it when you've been sitting in 90-degree indoor heat for 18 hours and you're tired and the whole house feels wrong. Most people don't do it. They underdrink. And in a heat event, underdrinking is quietly dangerous in a way that doesn't announce itself clearly until it's already a problem. A USB water jug pump is $12 to $15 on Amazon. It clips onto the top of a standard 5-gallon jug and dispenses water at the press of a button. You charge it once, before summer, not when a heat event is already forecast, and it holds that charge for weeks. When the power goes out, it's already ready. This is one of those items where the value only becomes clear when you've been without power for a full day, and you're tired and hot, and you're standing in front of a jug you don't want to lift. Have it ready before that moment happens. Gel ice packs and a small cooler, 6 large packs and the 20-quart cooler, around $30 to $35 total, give you a body cooling system that doesn't depend on electricity at all. Freeze the packs before the heat event arrives. Transfer them to the cooler when the power goes out. Then use them the way that actually works. When you press a cold pack against your neck, your wrists, or underneath your arms, you're putting cold directly against places where blood runs close to the surface. Your blood is essentially your body's internal cooling circuit. It picks up cold there and carries it inward. This is faster than cooling your thigh or your stomach because the blood has a shorter path to the surface. Rotate packs as they warm. Keep the cooler closed between rotations. And pack every empty inch of that cooler with frozen water bottles. Empty airspace inside a cooler is just warm air that accelerates thawing. Those bottles become cold drinking water as the hours go by. A cooler packed properly and kept closed can hold cold for 24 hours or more. Every time you open it unnecessarily, you lose cold you can't get back. Open it with intention. Gel packs work when you're sitting still, but you can't sit still for 2 days. You need to walk to the kitchen, use the bathroom, check on things. For movement, you want cooling towels, specifically frog togs, which are made from a material called PVA. A 3-pack runs $15 to $20. You soak one, wring it out, snap it once in the air, and it activates, drops noticeably below air temperature. Drape it around your neck. Run a 3-towel rotation, one on you, one soaking in a bowl of cool water, one standing by. When the one on your neck starts to warm, swap it. That cycle can run all day. One thing you need to know about PVA towels. If you let one dry out completely, it stiffens up like cardboard. Do not try to pull it apart when it's dry. It tears. Just run it under water and it goes soft again in about 30 seconds. Keep a spray bottle filled with cold water nearby, ideally stored in your cooler so the water itself is cold. A light mist on your face, neck, and forearms in front of your battery fan drops your perceived temperature significantly and quickly. This combination, mist plus moving air, is one of the most effective cooling mechanisms available that requires no electricity. Everyone knows to drink water in a heat wave. Here's what's less obvious. Plain water isn't always enough when you're sweating consistently over many hours. You lose minerals along with fluids, and those minerals are what your muscles and your heart use to function normally. Without them, you can drink water and still feel off. Sugar-free electrolyte powder, Liquid IV, makes a good version, and a 14-packet box runs about $25. Adds those minerals back without loading you with sugar. The sugar-free version specifically matters because most people over 50 have already had a conversation with their doctor about watching sugar intake, and a heat emergency is not the time to complicate things. 1 packet in 1 water bottle per day, timed to when the heat peaks, early to mid-afternoon, is a reasonable approach. You don't need to turn every glass of water into a sports drink. Just make sure the middle of the day, when you're sweating the most, is covered. Here's what people consistently get wrong about heat waves. They think the danger passes at sunset. It doesn't. Your house has been loading heat all day long, and as the outdoor temperature drops at night, your house releases that stored heat inward. Indoor temperatures often peak 2 to 3 hours after the outdoor temperature peaks. The inside of your home can be hotter at 9 p.m. than it was at 4 p.m. 2 things go wrong at night. You can't see where you're walking, and you can't sleep because it's too hot. For light, a battery-powered headlamp for about $15 keeps both hands free for moving around safely, for the stair railing, for steadying yourself when you stand up quickly. A small battery-powered lantern for $10 to $15 illuminates a whole room without shining in your eyes. Buy lights that all use the same battery type, so you're not managing multiple battery formats in the dark. No candles. A tired person in a hot house with an open flame is a house fire waiting to happen. The combination is genuinely dangerous. For sleep, your battery fan stays on low all night, pointed at where you're sleeping. Combined with a cold, damp cooling towel on your neck, this is the setup that lets you actually rest. Without rest, decision-making deteriorates, and good decisions are the whole point of this preparation. Studies from Climate Central show that in Atlanta, Detroit, and Phoenix, between 68% and 100% of the population would face serious risk during a combined blackout and heat wave. Those aren't rural areas without infrastructure. Those are major American cities, and they are not prepared for this scenario. Your power station isn't for fans or lights. Those are handled. Your power station, a Jackery Explorer 240 at around $240, or an EcoFlow River 2 at $150 to $200, is for the things in your life that only work with electricity. Your phone, a CPAP if you use one, any device that keeps you functional and connected. A fully charged Jackery 240 can recharge a smartphone more than 10 times. It's quiet, produces no fumes, and works indoors. It is not a generator. It is a large, safe battery in a box. For CPAP users, most CPAP machines have two settings that are quietly draining your battery while you sleep: the heated humidifier and the warming system for the hose. Both of them exist for comfort, not for the core function of the machine. Go into your settings before an outage happens and turn both off. Your therapy still works. You just won't have warm, humidified air, and most people find that trade-off completely livable when the alternative is running out of power at 3 a.m. 2 habits worth building now. Charge this thing today, not the week a heat advisory goes up. And every few months, run something off it and recharge it, rather than leaving it sitting in a closet for a year, slowly losing capacity. The average American power outage in 2021 lasted more than 5 hours. In 2024, outages from major weather events averaged nearly 9 hours. During Hurricane Helene, customers in South Carolina averaged 53 hours without power. That's not a freak number anymore. That's the direction things are moving. So let's be direct about what this kit actually does for you. The first 12 hours are manageable. Your gel packs are still cold, your fan is running, your window panels are blocking afternoon sun. You're uncomfortable, not in danger. Hours 12 through 36 are harder. Your house has been retaining heat for more than a day. Your stored cold is starting to go. But your power station is keeping your phone charged. You're rotating your cooling towels, and you're staying in one small room with the door closed. You're in control, but you're aware of the clock. Hours 36 through 72. This is when you need honest self-assessment, not a thermometer reading. Your body is the instrument. If the room feels inescapable, if you notice you've stopped sweating even though it's still hot, if standing up makes you feel lightheaded, if your heart is racing while you're just sitting still, those are signals to leave. Not to push through, to leave. Most cooling centers in American cities are free, air-conditioned, and open during declared heat emergencies. Know where yours is before you need it. That's the part of preparation that doesn't fit in a box, but matters just as much as everything else on this list. Start with the window insulation, the battery fan, and the water pump. That's your most immediate protection for around $75. Next priority, the cooler setup, cooling towels, electrolyte packets, and a basic lighting kit. That brings you to somewhere around $180 to $200 and gives you a real working system for 36 hours or more. The power station is the last piece and the one that extends your window significantly, especially if you use any electrically powered equipment to sleep or stay functional. Full kit lands around $400 to $450. Buy in that order if you need to spread it out. Heat kills more Americans every year than hurricanes and tornadoes combined. The people who get through it are the ones who had a plan before the temperature hit 105. Start building yours today.